There are two people in every mirror. There's the one you can see, and there's the other one. The one you don't want to. In 2018, Marvel Comics writer Al Ewing and artist Joe Bennett brought about a terrifying new era of Bruce Banner and his alter ego in the pages of The Immortal Hulk. A comic that has more in common with horror than superheroes, and a story that returns to the disturbing roots of the character. When the Hulk premiered in 1962, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee designed him to be a modern nuclear equivalent of Jekyll and Hyde. Dr. Bruce Banner was irradiated by his own gamma bomb, unleashing the monstrous Hulk persona at Nightfall, while Hulk would quickly adopt more heroic traits, as well as green skin and a more childlike rage. The first 6-issue run of The Incredible Hulk had more in common with the sci-fi monster movies filling up drive-in theaters of the time than the spandex-clad heroes bursting onto the comic book scene. Over the years, the Hulk would take on new personalities and be transported into genres ranging from outer space adventure to military thriller. But the horror of the Hulk continued to linger, bubbling beneath the surface of the Jade Giant. That horror erupts in The Immortal Hulk, which sees Bruce Banner suddenly, inexplicably return from the dead after being seemingly permanently killed. There is no reason for his return. The truth is that Banner and the Hulk simply cannot stay dead. And if Banner should die during the day, the Hulk will rise from the dead that night. Together, these two personalities, now at peace with one another after years of internal strife, roam the countryside to enact vengeance on the guilty. But what does the Hulk want? The cover of the debut issue of The Incredible Hulk is emblazoned with a question regarding its protagonist. Is he man or monster? Or is he both? Ewing returns to this central question about the nature of his hero, and in doing so, he turns the story of the Hulk into a horror comic. One that terrifies in its grotesque acts, while unsettling readers with its deeper questions regarding human nature. In looking at the first 13 issues of the currently ongoing Immortal Hulk, we'll see how Ewing and Bennett, along with a rotating list of guest artists, weaponized body horror to illustrate the monstrous nature of the character, created a portrait of dissociative identity disorder to analyze how people both protect and harm themselves, and used the Kabbalah to portray the dueling sides of good and evil within each person. Together, the Immortal Hulk ruminates on the idea that we have the power of both destruction and salvation in our hands at all times, and asks us, which will we choose? Or do we even know the difference? One of the themes we've been exploring is the idea of anger as something that can be harnessed and used for positive change, said Ewing. We've had periods of Hulk's history where Bruce has tried to use the Hulk to do good, but there was still that separation between them. Bruce's desire to divorce himself from his own rage, to deny it, to lock it down. Now, by fully accepting his dissociative identity disorder and working closely with his alters, Bruce is arguably more complete and whole than he's been in a very long time. But if anger is a useful emotion, and I think it can be, is it enough on its own? How far can you go with just your rage as fuel? If you can only destroy, how much good are you really capable of? In these first 13 issues, the Immortal Hulk slowly shifts from standalone stories that see Hulk fight small criminals who hurt the innocent, to a larger narrative propelled by the public realizing that Bruce Banner is alive and dangerous. And it's reporter Jackie McGee, whose home was destroyed by the Hulk when she was a child, who's determined to discover the truth and also find some greater understanding of the losses she's experienced. Battles with the Avengers and the covert military unit Shadowbase push the lead characters into conflict, but there's something far more sinister at play. The Gamma inside Hulk and his similarly powered fellow heroes and villains unlocks a green door, a strange and ominous portal between life and death that Hulk must pass through to return to life. But what is on the other side of this door, and what does it want with us? Ewing and Bennett's series ships with a twice-monthly release schedule, and to keep up with the pace, Bennett will illustrate 2 issues, followed by a single issue illustrated by a different artist. The Hulk has gone through countless artistic interpretations over the years, but there's something strikingly different about the monster at the center of Immortal Hulk. Ewing's Hulk is an intelligent, cunning, ruthless creature, an incredibly strong monster who is calm and brilliant in his attacks. The Immortal Hulk, or as we'll soon see him revealed to be, Devil Hulk, has the power to break mountains, but the cunning needed to break people spiritually. And the first 13 issues of Ewing's series are centered on slowly understanding this Hulk's motivations and relationship with Banner. Is he the devil incarnate, the personification of holy wrath? Or is he both? It's penciler Joe Bennett, along with regular inker Rui Rose and colorist Paul Mounts, who bring Ewing's version of the Hulk to thrilling life. This is a behemoth crowding every panel, heavily muscled and thickly skinned, massive hands built for crushing, his brow heavy and knotted with furrows. But it's his expressions that differentiate this Immortal Hulk from past versions. His eyes are fiercely intelligent, his smile is sinister, but every feature is exaggerated beyond human capability. When these features are combined with how Ewing has this Hulk speak, intelligent, calm, complete complex sentences, the effect becomes immediately unsettling. This is a Hulk with dark motivations who is completely in control of himself. Sandra Ann Brockhurst. That was her name. She was 12. The action of Immortal Hulk is very much focused on body horror, with Bennett being a big proponent of its increased presence in the series. The Hulk's body is a centerpiece for body horror illustration. After all, this is a man who shifts between two very different physicalities at the blink of an eye. While Bennett and Ewing hold off on showing what exactly that transformation looks like for the first several issues, they eventually reveal it in all its torturous, traumatic, and fleshy glory. But the most grotesque moment sees Hulk killed, bisected, and put into jars, still conscious despite being pulled apart. That culminates in the Hulk pulling himself together, his flailing, motile organs encasing the scientist torturing him and swallowing him whole. This Hulk is rooted in Jungian psychology, which defines our personality as being made up of the self, which is our psyche as a whole, the persona, which is the exaggerated self we show to the public, and the shadow, which is our darkest impulses we often refuse to accept and instead project on others. The Hulk is that shadow self taken to the extreme and given sentient life. The shadow isn't just the dark side though, said Ewing. It's things we don't like to admit to ourselves, uncomfortable truths we hide from. And while Bruce doesn't like to admit to his anger, sometimes anger is a justified and necessary response to the various injustices of the world. So how would someone who felt completely outside of humanity express that anger? Every issue opens with a quote that establishes the theme of the story to come. These create a sense of foreboding and keep the reader's mind attuned to the larger ideas at play. Most often, they come from philosophers or theologists and illustrate the darkness within us. Man is, on the whole, less good than he imagines himself or wants to be. Likewise, each issue ends with a splash page and title reveal, acting as a punchline to the issue's final moments. These consistent choices mean the comic begins and ends on a stark and ominous note, and each time, we're left to question the nature of good and evil within Banner. The Hulk revels in violence here, living out a type of justice that is so extreme as to make readers question whether his actions are done out of righteousness or villainy. Their extremity regularly causes this more broken version of Banner to question his own nature. In the first issue, Hulk pulverizes a robber who killed a little girl, only for the reader to see the robber's wife and child weeping at his hospital bedside. What was right and wrong in this moment of punishment? I'm not a bad person, am I? What do you think? In the Immortal Hulk, this new Devil Hulk personality has been unlocked, communicating with Banner through instinctual urges and reflections. This is a Hulk that frightens Bruce, but over the course of these first 13 issues, we see the Devil Hulk, who was portrayed decades before as a reptilian creature to be locked away, is a parental, protective figure, watching out for Bruce and punishing the people that hurt him. Bruce Banner has dissociative identity disorder, a condition long established as a realistic means of understanding the psychology behind his many shifting Hulk personas. DID is a complex psychological condition that can be caused by factors including severe early childhood trauma. The result is that a person will develop at least two distinct, enduring personalities, and will likely experience extensive memory gaps. These personalities help someone cope with trauma that is too much for their origin personality. As such, the alters that are created take on a variety of protective roles. And that's what's crucial about Ewing's portrayal of Banner and his Hulk alters within Immortal Hulk. This is a protective system, a series of personalities created to support a young boy whose early life was defined by a violent father who abused him and murdered his mother. The Hulk may show it in strange ways, but this is a system born out of love. When we see that, we begin to understand how Hulk's acts of destruction become acts of love. As the series continues, Ewing brings back the childish big guy Hulk, who classically rages out as a pressure release for the system, and Joe Fixit, the sly conman who breaks the rules that Banner won't. In this system of identities, Ewing establishes relationships that believably work together for the sake of Banner's well-being. And if Banner's pain is the product of a broken, poisonous world, then the Hulk's protective nature pushes him to destroy the human world as it stands today. The world that pollutes the earth, that destroys families, that sparks wars that take countless lives. This Hulk is both father to Banner and devil to humanity, a monster that reflects our purest desires to protect one another and our most violent impulses to destroy what has hurt us. You wanted science. You wanted a set of rules. From me, big mistake. See, science is the other guy. And when you hurt him, I take it personal. Now under the care of Hulk's paternal protection, Banner enters into a new, more balanced era of his DID system. But what happens when his actual father returns? The spirit of Brian Banner travels through that mysterious green door, influences the Hulk to enact greater violence, and at the climax of these first 13 issues, pulls the Hulk, McGee, the Absorbing Man, and several others into hell. As our characters travel through the lowest level of hell, Hulk, his skin sagging and his face gaunt from having much of his power drained from him, fights the one below all. Pure destructive evil given form who has used Brian to separate Banner from the Hulk. All the while, an unknown voice speaks to us and ponders the nature of good and evil, destruction and mercy, God and the devil, heaven and hell, over the course of 3 issues. To be truly absent, God must have once been present. God must have a face to turn it away from you. But is there another face that looks upon you when God has gone? Does God have a shadow? Does God have a Hulk? It's here, in the depths of a hell deeper than hell, that Ewing uses the Kabbalah, the ancient Jewish tradition of mystical interpretation of the Bible, to illustrate the possibilities of good and evil within Hulk and humanity, and how these two are differentiated by how we choose to use our strength. Even though the Hulk and his companions have been pulled into a very tangible vision of hell, Ewing illustrates that hell is a state of being, and that the devil is who we as people will become when we embrace our destructive desires. In the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life and its 10 emanations of the divine represent benevolent aspects of existence, God, and the human psyche. These are the encapsulations of our greatest potential. If heaven is a theoretical place to be found within us, living out these divine emanations brings us closer to what God represents. One of these emanations is called Jivra, the emanation of strength and power in judgment. This is purifying destruction to root out evil. But hell is the absence of God. Without Him and His mercy, we are in hell. If we have taken God's creation, a perfect world, and poisoned it, boiled it, polluted it, then has God permanently turned His face away from us? Like the Jungian self, the Tree of Life has a shadow side known as the Klipoth, which means shells. Their emptiness is the opposite of the divine spheres of the Tree of Life, reflecting our descent into destruction by taking the morally upright attributes within us and using them for selfish, destructive purposes. Strength without a greater purpose. The highest point on the Tree of Life is Keter, which is the unity of the divine. The lowest point on the Klipoth is Talmiel, where unity is divided into forces that destroy one another. This division splits the great ruler of hell into 2, the devil and Satan, 2 opposing forces with different goals. The one below all is the devil, mindless destruction for the sake of destruction. The Immortal Hulk is Satan, God's righteous destruction, an angel of wrath casting judgment, the World Breaker. If God is the Heavenly Father and his inverse is the destroyer known as the devil, what happens when earthly fathers like Brian Banner become abusive incarnations of evil? Then the World Breaker becomes a servant for good. As the Hulk dispels Brian and the One Below All for now, he rescues Banner, unifying through love that gives us hope for their healing. To become a creature of hate, to use anger only to create pain, to lose balance. Javra is called the left hand of God. I know you locked me away for years. I know I scare you. What I do, what I am. But before any of the others, I was there, protecting you. I'll always protect you. 'Cause I love you, you stupid kid. Somebody had to. Come on home. But the right hand is mercy. What is the Hulk? Is he an agent of hell, a force of hatred designed to separate us from God's mercy? Or is he a force of righteous anger? Hulk's fight against the One Below All is the fight against the impulse we have to turn our backs on both our fellow man and the earth and let it all burn down. But if humanity has destroyed God's mercy and become an encapsulation of the division and suffering found in Thaumiel, should the human world be destroyed so we can start over? As Ewing revealed, this Hulk is one that's been lurking in Bruce for a long time, but whose time has only come now, when Bruce is at his lowest point. This is the Accuser, the Avenger, the Hulk that judges the world. And on some level, maybe Bruce knows that judgment has come for him too. Each of us has been given some form of strength, the ability to affect the people around us. We must choose what to do with this strength. We in ourselves have the capacity to be both God and the devil, to destroy evil or to destroy righteousness. The violence we inflict on one another, the scars we inflict on our planet, these are the face of the devil-given form. However, our mercies and even our acts of violent judgment can be the face of God. But how can we divide the two when they live within the same body? How can Banner and the Hulk create something better when all they know is how to destroy? The comics that follow Hulk's return from hell explore both the holy and the broken within Banner and the world. But for now, we must decide who we will be in the world today. Are you man? Are you monster? Or are you both?